Ma'am, on that video, did you see?
Exhibit number.
Yes, ma'am. It's 151, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Did you observe Shayana carrying a bag on that video?
O senhor observou a Chayana carregando saco naquele vídeo?
Sim.
Yes.
And did that accurately portray the manner in which you saw her carrying it, how she carried it?
Demonstrou a maneira em que você viu ela carregando o saco da forma adequada?
Não tenho certeza.
I'm not
Acho-
certain.
Okay. Well, just describe how you saw her carrying it versus... Your Honor, could we approach, please?
You may.
Nothing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You may step down.
Trooper Heather Sutherland. Commonwealth calls Trooper Heather Sutherland.
Right this way, man. Please follow me. Please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Ma'am, you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this court is material will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
May I inquire?
You may.
Trooper, please state your name for the record, spelling your last name.
Trooper Heather Ann Sullivan, Heather, last name's Sullivan.
And where do you live, ma'am?
I live in Georgetown, Mass.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a state trooper out of the Crime Scene Services section in Boston
How long have you done that work within the state police?
for 2 years now.
And when did you first come to work for the state police?
2005.
And what did you do from the time that you were first working for the state police until you joined Crime Scene Services?
I was a road trooper on midnights for 7 years.
Prior to that, did you have any experience with police work?
Yes, I was a full-time and part-time police officer in Falmouth PD. And prior to that, I was in the military. Did security forces in my last half of my military career, last 4 or 5 years.
Okay. What kind of military were you in?
I was in the Air Force of the Air National Guard for 10 years.
Okay. Turning your attention to June 17th of 2013, did you receive a phone call that evening?
I did. I received a phone call from Sergeant Steve Bennett saying that there was a homicide victim.
Objection sustained after Bennett, as to what he said.
I was advised that there'd be a homicide.
Ma'am.
Unless you're specifically asked, and you should wait to see if there's an objection, you're not being asked what someone said to you. Only what you did. You may be asked whether you had the fact of a conversation, but it's what you personally did, what you personally saw, and not what anyone else may have told you.
Thank you, Judge. As a result of the phone call, did you go somewhere?
I went to the Chief Medical Examiner's office in Boston, where I work.
And what was your purpose in going there?
We were going there to do trace examination on a victim that came in.
Who did you go there with?
Trooper Brian Ing.
And as part of that, did you also, were you also required to do photographs?
Yes.
Okay. And who was Trooper Eng at that time?
He was a co-worker. He is a senior member of crime scene, and when we do trace examinations, usually 2 people will come in to do that.
Just in general terms, please tell the jury what a trace examination is.
Sure. Trace examination is you document the body, how it comes into us, and then we use alternate light source and white light, regular light, what you see with everyday light, to take items off of the clothing of a homicide, well, a body, or the skin of the body, and then you use alternate light source and do the same thing. You go through different frequencies to get things that you might see with different light sources.
What time did you arrive in Boston?
Approximately midnight on the 18th.
So sort of between the 17th and the 18th?
Yes.
And do you have to do anything to prepare for this particular work?
Yes. Before we get started, we usually prepare bags for any items that might come from the body. We prepare butcher paper for us to be able to put any items on a clean environment. We gear up by putting a full Tyvek suit on, gloves, booties, mask, eye protection, and we also got the ALS system up and running. It has to warm up for a little bit.
What is that?
The alternate light system.
And if you could just describe what that does for the jury, please.
Sure. You go through different frequency of the light, starting from the lowest, going to the highest. You go through each one, and with each light, you see a different sets of items, like skin, fiber, hair.
That particular morning, did you make a collection of any trace evidence?
We did. We had 2 separate gel lifts where all the items we saw with regular white light were placed on one gel lift, and any items we saw with alternate light source we put on the second gel lift.
Do you recall how many different items there were?
I don't recall.
What happened to those particular gel lifts?
We packaged them up, limbs them into the computer system, and transfer them out to a different unit who actually does the analysis on those items.
Okay. Just so we're clear, what is a gel lift?
Gel lift is pretty much, it's a sticky item that you take a clear plastic top off, and anything that you put on it will stick to the gel lift in order to collect it and make sure it doesn't fly away or fall on the ground or anything like that.
And how do you remove these pieces of trace evidence?
We pick using tweezers, and it's usually small, tiny items, so it's usually the majority of the items we get is with tweezers. Or if there was bigger debris, we'd take it with our gloved hand.
Who transported the gel lifts that night?
It gets transported to our evidence shelf until it can be transported by the evidence control unit.
Did you do that yourself?
Myself and Trooper Brian Ing packaged all the items up, taped them, sealed them, and I initialed and dated all the bags as we sealed them, and then we transferred them through the computer system to the evidence shelf.
Now, when you first went in Boston, describe sort of the environment that you're working in.
Where I work is actually the morgue. So the room that we were set up in has gurneys. It's pretty much a cement room with stainless steel tables and sinks. And it's where all the bodies come in for the OCME to do the autopsies. So that's where we set up the room for us to do, all the alternate light source and get the items.
Was the body already in the room when you got there?
Yes, the OCME brought it into the room, and nobody goes in that room until we got in there. During the night, it's very limited personnel, 2 to 3 people, tops. And the people who actually bring the bodies in bring it into the room, and they leave it there until myself and Trooper Ng got in.
Who opened the bag?
I did. I opened the bag.
And what was the individual wearing, if anything?
Individual had a blue sweatshirt, a hoodie, a zip-up hoodie, Old Navy, a plaid short sleeve shirt, jeans, a belt, sneakers and socks, tank top, and underwear.
Do you have any shoes on?
Sneakers.
May I approach her?
Thank you, sir.
Trooper, I'm going to hand you this.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand you this bag. You could open that up and take a look what's inside.
Blue sweatshirt.
Pull that open. Do you recognize that item?
I do.
What is that item?
It was the Old Navy sweatshirt that was on the victim's body.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I couldn't.
Could you just speak up a little bit?
I apologize. It was the sweatshirt that came on the body into the OCME.
And is that in substantially the same form as you saw it that night?
Pretty much, except for some of the tagged items that another office had done.
Those were not there that night?
That's correct.
And you did not do those particular tags?
I did not.
Okay, you just put that back in. When you first came in the room, was the sweatshirt on the deceased body?
It was, sir.
And who took it off?
Either myself or Brian Ng, I can't recall which one of us, but I believe Brian Ng was the one taking the clothing off.
Okay, and with regards to that, was the bag into which it was placed marked?
Yes.
And how was it marked?
It's LIMS label, our crime scene number, the chief medical examiner number, my initials, date, and the item description.
And when you say the initials, your initials in particular?
Yes.
Okay, could you just point those out, please?
It's right here, it's HAS with a circle and a date right under it.
And then just for the jury as well.
It's the circled item here and the date.
Thank you. Move to admit this, Your Honor.
Okay. Mark is the next exhibit.
left sneaker that was on the body when it came into the morgue.
And again, is that bag marked in a similar fashion?
It is. It's under the tape, but yes.
With regard to the sort of dust on with regards to dust, see the sort of black marks?
Yes, sir.
On it? Was that the way it was that night?
No, it was very clean, actually.
Okay, if you just put that back. And this item as well.
It's the right sneaker that was on the body.
Just sort of hold that up for the jury a little bit. Is that sort of the level of cleanliness they wore that night?
Yes.
Both shoes?
Both shoes were about the same.
And is that in substantially the same conditions as it was that night otherwise?
I would say so, yes, sir.
Very good. Move to a series, Judge. Objection.
Moving on to the next exhibit.
Just so that we can make sure we have this on the record. 195B, is that the left or the right shoe?
This is the right sneaker.
And the other one is
Would be
the,
the left sneaker.
that's 195A?
Yes.
Hand you this back, ma'am, if you could just open that up.
Sure.
Do you recognize what that item is?
I do, sir. It was the shirt that was on the victim.
And with regards to the condition, particularity to the holes that are in it, is that the same way it was that night?
I believe so.
Okay.
There's actually a few other holes that weren't there before.
And those other holes, are they regular or irregular?
They're irregular. I believe it's from another office. They might have taken samples.
And I note that there are some tags on there. Were those your tags or somebody
They
else's?
were not my tags. They were from a different unit.
Okay. Just move that back. I move to admit this item, Your Honor. Cloud, you from handing me this item. Ask you to open up that one.
This was the tank top that the victim was wearing.
Can you tell what the front and the back of that is?
Where the front versus the back? I believe this would be the back here, sir. This would be the front.
Very good. And is that in substantially the same conditions you saw it that night?
Pretty much except for the samples that were taken by, I believe, another lab.
Okay, and again,
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm having
you
I
just-
apologize, sir. I believe there was sections taken from another lab, but other than that, it's in pretty much the same condition.
You just sort of hold it up and show the jury what you mean by the sample taking.
There's a square-shaped hole. That's usually where they take their the way they take out the snips. but I don't work in that office, so I'm not really sure the procedure. But there's one in the front, one in the back that I can see.
And other than that, is it in substantially the same conditions you saw it that night?
Yes, sir.
I move to admit that as well, Your Honor.
Mr. Marcus, next exhibit.
Thank you. May I approach again, Your Honor? Ask you to look at the series of photographs, please. Ma'am, if you could, in general terms, what do those photographs depict?
Photographs of the body with the clothing on it, and then as we peeled the clothing off, it's different layers of clothing and the sneakers as well after they were taken off.
As far as this first picture, what does it depict?
Shows up half of the body with a sweatshirt, a red plaid shirt, and boxers, and blue belt with jeans.
Can you see the underwear?
You can see the top of the boxers, yes.
Just what color is it?
Gray.
I'll show you this photograph, ask you to recognize what that is.
Yes, it's after we took the outer layer of clothing off, it's the gray tank top and gray boxers.
I'll show you this photograph, ask you to recognize what that is.
It's the lower half of the body with the jeans still on them and the sneakers still on the body.
And then that's just these last two photographs.
And the sneakers after they were taken off.
Do these photographs fairly and accurately depict the way the body and clothing looked that night?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit as a serious issue. Again for a second, the whole set.
Objection.
Maybe Marcus, next exhibit.
And may I publish these?
May. Could I just see counsel for a moment?
proceed, Your Honor.
You may. Let me first just give you some instructions that I'm not trying to single out any particular photograph in this series or any other photographs that may be introduced, but to just tell you that when you look at photographs that are introduced or that may be introduced into evidence, do not allow your verdict to be influenced in any way by the fact that some of those photographs may be unpleasant or graphic. The defendant is entitled to a verdict based solely on the evidence and not one based on sympathy or pity that might be occasioned by a photograph. You should consider any such exhibits only as they may draw attention to a clinical medical status, to the nature of the injuries, the position of the body, the positioning of any entry of any projectile, or to the color of the clothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, it's 198A. Ask Trooper if you could just describe what is this photograph of?
It's the upper half of the victim with a blue sweatshirt, it's a zip-up hoodie, blue, red, white plaid shirt, gray boxers, blue belt, blue jeans, and the bag you see is over the victim's hands.
On that night, while you were there, did those bags ever come off of his hands?
They did not.
How did you get his clothing off over the bags?
We carefully took the items off around the bags, not to disturb the bags.
With regards to this particular area here, you see my finger is?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any damage to the shirt in that area?
I believe there was a small hole there, sir.
Showing you now is been marked 198B. Take a look at that and describe to the jury what that is.
It's the right side of the victim. In the same area, you'll see what appears to bleed blood, and there is a small hole there, but it's hard to see in that photo. As well, the top half of the body, there's, I believe, 2 holes in that one area. And then the lower half of the body is the boxers with no jeans on.
Uh, 198C. Ask if you just describe what that is.
So the lower half of the body with the jeans and the sneakers still on the body.
And then finally, 198B. Are those the sneakers that you took off his feet that night?
Yes, sir.
May I approach again, Your Honor? Show you a series of 3 photographs and ask if you can in general say what those are.
This is backside of the sweatshirt that was on the victim's body. And all 3, it was a far away medium close-up photo and showing 3 bullet holes, 3 holes on the back of the sweatshirt.
And with regards to those photos, who took them?
I did, sir.
And does that fairly and accurately represent what the sweatshirt looked like that night?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Objection.
Would you like to see the next exhibit?
marked 199A. Ask if you just in general describe what that is.
It's the back of the sweatshirt, and you can see 3 white spots where there's holes.
Could you point those out for me, please?
There's one right here, one right here, and one right up there.
199B. And what is that?
It's a close-up of the upper hole on the back of the sweatshirt.
C. What is that?
It's a close-up of 2 other holes, one here and one here,
And 2 other holes on what, ma'am?
on the back of the sweatshirt.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Okay.
Ask if you look at this series of photographs. In general terms, say what it is.
Okay, close-up of the upper right half of the victim's body. You can see a hole in the red plaid shirt. The next photo is a photo of another hole that was in the upper part of the body of the, actually that's the right lower half of the body. It's on the side. Next one is a photograph of a hole in the left pocket. Next photo is a photo of the hole in the right pocket. And then the last photo, or one of the last photos, is pictures of the back of the sweatshirt, I believe from the inside. And you can see at least 1 or 2 of the holes in this photo as well.
Go back to that one now.
Yes.
What shirt is that?
It's a plaid shirt that the victim was wearing.
Okay. Move on, sorry.
And then the last photo is a close-up of the same area of the back of the plaid shirt.
Does that fairly and accurately represent how the red plaid shirt looked to you that night?
Yes, sir.
We would say answer this series, Your Honor.
No objection.
Me.
May I publish, Your Honor? Starting with number 200A, I ask if you recognize what that is.
This is the upper right half of the body on the right-hand side. It's the front by the shoulder.
The black hair, where is that on his body?
I believe this is chin.
Okay. With regards to this particular photo, do you see any damage to the shirt?
Hole right in the right side of the shirt.
C. Ask if you recognize what that is.
That's a photo of the left pocket with a hole in the left pocket here.
There. Show you 200D. Ask if you recognize what that is.
It's a photo of the right side of the shirt. This is the right pocket, and there's a hole approximately right here.
Show you 200E. Ask if you recognize what that is.
That's a photo of the inside of the shirt, but it's the back part of the shirt. And you can see a hole directly in the center. You can kind of see a hole further up near the top of the middle back of the shirt.
Here.
Yes,
Are these his socks as well?
those are the socks that were taken off his body, yes. Yeah.
Show you 200F. You recognize what that is?
It's a more of a close-up photo of this. There's a hole here and a hole up here.
Going back to 200B. Ask if you recognize what that is.
It's the actual side of the body. You see a hole right here.
Those holes that you described in all those photos, those substantially the way they appeared to you that night?
Yes.
We're going to take a morning recess at this time. Please keep your mind suspended. Don't discuss the case among yourselves or with anyone else.
All rise for the jury, please.
can bring the chairs. All right. Gary.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I continue my examination?
You may.
And may I approach?
You may.
I'll show you this photograph and ask if you recognize what that is.
It's a gray tank top that was taken off of Mr. Odin Lloyd.
Just keep your voice up, please. Say that again.
My apologies. It was a gray tank top that was taken off of Mr. Odin Lloyd.
And is that in substantially the same condition as it was when you photographed it that night?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit, Your Honor. Okay.
May box the next exhibit.
And may I publish this, Your Honor?
May.
Showing you now exhibit 201. Is this the same condition was in that night?
It was, sir.
Okay. And who removed this from the body?
I believe Trooper Bryaning did.
With regards to the areas of the dark stains, you see the holes within those areas?
I do, sir.
And were those holes there that night?
They were.
And just point those out to the jury.
One here on the side, two here, one up here, one further up, and one along the collar, I believe, but I can't really tell from this photo. Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, sir. Right at the collar.
May I approach again, Ron?
May.
Show you these 3 photographs, ask you to recognize what those are.
Photographs of the body of Mr. Odin Lloyd.
And what part of the body are those 3 photographs depict?
The upper half of his body, the front, chest, and lower abdomen, I would say, side.
Second photograph?
Second photograph, right on his, I believe, right shoulder, right under his chin. And the last one, I believe that is the side from this photo.
Do those 3 photos fairly inaccurately depict what Mr. Lloyd's body looked like that night?
Yes, sir.
Move to admit those 3 as a series, Your Honor.
No objection.
And that is the next exhibit.
A through C.
Show you a series of 4 photographs and ask if you recognize what those are.
Okay, it's a photo of, the first one's a photo of Mr. Odin Lloyd's right arm. It's the inside of his arm. Next one is a closer of that photo. The next photo is of the outside of his arm. And the next photo is further away, seeing more of the body, but you can see his right arm on the outside of his right arm.
Move to admit these as a series, Your Honor.
No objection.
Bring back to the next exhibit.
A through P.
I'm going to show you a series of 3 photographs. Ask if you recognize what those are.
It's a picture of Mr. Odin Lloyd's back. the lower part of his back. And this is the upper part of his back with 3 holes in his back. And a further away, so it's a close-up and a further away photo
Of?
of Mr. Odin Lloyd's back.
To admit those as a series as well.
No objection.
Mark, it's the next exhibit.
C.
May I approach? Showing you what has been marked 202A. Describe for me, please, Trooper, what's in that photograph?
Here's a photo of Mr. Odin Lloyd's upper body. You can see holes in his chest and on his left arm with his bagged hand.
Starting by his neck and moving further down his body, if you could just point those out one by one, and I'll try to keep the finger.
One up by his neck, one up in the right chest, one in the left chest, one you can see is cut off, but it's see in the lower part of the right side, and you can't see on the arm, but it's, I believe, right around here is the other one.
Ma'am, with regards to the wounds in his chest, as you peeled away the clothing, were those wounds consistent with the clothing?
Yes, sir.
In what manner were they consistent with the clothing?
In the same area of the where the clothes would be on the body.
What was in the same area of the clothing?
The holes in the clothing match up with the holes in his body.
Show you 202B. Ask if you recognize what that is.
Yes, this is upper part of Mr. Odin Lloyd's body, right under his chin on his right side. You can see a hole in the skin.
And then 202C. Where was that on Mr. Wood's body?
Further down on his side. You can see it right here.
Show you what has been marked 203A.
This is a photo of Mr. Odin Lloyd's right arm, his bagged hand, and the inside of his arm.
What is the purpose of leaving the bag on at that stage in the photographing?
And that's for when the doctors do the autopsy, they actually take clippings of the nails to get any evidence that might be on the hands or underneath the fingernails.
Did you ever take a photograph of his hands that day?
I did not. They do that at autopsy. I didn't want to remove the bagging.
Show you 203B. What's
See.
depicted in that photograph?
The other side of a closer shot of his arm with the hole in his arm.
203C.
This is the outside of the same arm with a hole on the other side of his arm.
D.
There's just a further away shot where you can see where on the body that hole is on his arm. Right here.
Show you 204C. Ask you what that is.
Shot of Mr. Odin Lloyd's back, middle of his back. There's 3 holes on his back, starting up by his neck, here, 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 and then you can see one on his lower back on the left side of his body, here.
Show you 204B.
It's a closer shot of the same wounds on the upper part of his middle back. Starting from the top, by his neck, here, here, and here as well.
Finally, 204A.
That's on his lower back. There's a hole here.
With regards to the clothing you removed from Mr. Lloyd's body, were the wounds on his back consistent with the holes in the clothing?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, when you had finished removing the clothing and had the 2 gel, trace evidence gel things, what did you do with those?
They were packaged and sealed and limsed and transferred to the evidence locker.
Who did that?
Myself and Trooper Brian Ing.
Were you present for when they were logged in?
Yes.
A moment, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Trooper Sullivan.
Good morning, sir.
Did you tell us that you responded to the medical examiner's office in Boston at around midnight?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And do you know whether Mr. Lloyd's body had been transported directly from North Attleboro, where it was found, to the Boston medical examiner's office, or whether it went somewhere else first?
It should have come directly, as far as I know, directly to the OCME's office. They go straight from the crime scene to the OCME's office.
So in OCME, that's the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner
Yes, sir.
in Boston.
Yes.
So as far as you know, Mr. Lloyd's body was transported from the scene where it was found in North Attleboro to Boston that evening.
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Okay. And you did your work before the autopsy was conducted, right?
Correct.
Do you have any idea whether the autopsy was conducted in Boston or whether Mr. Lloyd's body was moved somewhere else to conduct the autopsy?
It was not conducted in Boston.
Okay. And the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Boston is equipped to do autopsies, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you have any, where was the autopsy done, if you know?
I don't know which office it was
Okay.
performed.
Do you have any knowledge as to why Mr. Lloyd's body would have been moved from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Boston, where you did your work, somewhere else to do the autopsy, ma'am?
Judge.
Sustained.
No further questions. Thank you.
Nothing further. Thank you very much.
Mr. Town.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth calls Sergeant Tom. Should be just us. Sergeant.
Great persuasive. Please follow me. Please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give to this court and this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Have a seat, sir.
Morning, Your Honor.
May I inquire? Sergeant Tom, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Daniel Tom, T-H-O-M.
And where do you work, sir?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police, currently assigned out of the District Attorney's Office in
And
New
your
Bedford.
rank?
A sergeant.
How long have you been a sergeant?
For just over a year.
In June of 2013, were you a rank trooper at that time?
Yes, I was.
And as a part of the investigation into the death of Owen Lord, were you called to go to an autopsy?
Yes.
Where was that?
That was in the Office of the Chief Medical Examiners down in Sandwich, Massachusetts.
About what time and on what day was that?
On the June 19th, which was a Wednesday, at approximately 10 o'clock in the morning.
What, if any, active role did you have in the autopsy?
Basically, I made documentations of who was present and observations of the autopsy as it was being performed.
And who was there?
Dr. William Zane performed the autopsy. Colleen Alvarez is the technician who assisted him. Trooper Bill Tarbocas was from Crime Scene Services, and he photographically documented the autopsy.
And were you there throughout the autopsy?
Yes, I was.
With regards to the autopsy, were certain items collected from the body of Owen Lloyd?
Yes.
What were those items?
There were blood was taken. There were right nail clippings, right-hand nail clippings, left-hand nail clippings, pubic hair, and facial hair.
Were those items kept separate from each other in that list that you just gave us?
Yes.
And who collected those items in particular?
Colleen Alvarez.
And what was the manner in which she collected the blood?
She took it out with a needle and put it in a test tube.
Did you see what happened to that test tube?
Yes, it was a purple top test tube, and from there it was secured.
When you say it was secured, who took it?
She wrote it down on an evidence form, transfer of evidence, and it went to me.
The other items involved at the autopsy, the fingernail clippings, were the right hand and the left hand kept separate from each other?
Yes,
And who took those?
I did.
How were they secured?
Separately in envelopes, I believe.
The pubic hair sample, how was that secured?
Separately,
And who took that?
I did.
And the head hair sample, or excuse me, facial hair sample?
Yes, separately, and I took that as well.
What did you do with those items?
I took them and transported them to the State Police Crime Lab in Lakeville.
And what was done with them there in your presence?
I handed them to a chemist, Sherry Hernandez, and we documented the transaction, so to speak.
May I approach her? Sergeant, I show you this photograph and ask if you recognize what it is a photograph of.
Yes, I do.
What is it?
That's the blood.
And how do you know that that is the blood that we've been talking about?
It has the test tube, and it has the cap, and it's got the item number on it.
Move to admit this, Your Honor.
Move mark to next exhibit.
Just briefly, I can publish instructions. If you could, just for the jury, sir, point out where the item number is for this particular item.
By the yellow tag, it's the case number from the ME's office, correct?
And within that,
And then also, I'm sorry, up on the top, there is also a white tag from our office, which has our case number, and it explains that it's the purple top tube from the Massachusetts State Police.
I just said moving on. May I approach again, Your Honor?
May.
I'll show you these two photographs, ask if you recognize what those are,
I do.
and what are those?
They're rulers.
Above the rulers, do you see something?
Okay, yes, I do. You see on the right, they appear to be nail clippings. On the left, nail clippings.
And do you recognize these with regards to this particular case?
Yes,
And how do you do that?
by noticing the case number, and that's it.
Okay. Move to admit these, Your Honor.
May we mark its next exhibit?
Exhibit 6A and B.
And just make all of these, Your Honor. In regards to this particular item, number 206A, Sergeant, if you just say what those are?
These are the right nail clippings, fingernail clippings from the right hand.
And did you secure those, take those to the lab?
I did.
In regards to 206B, what are those?
The left hand nail clippings,
Did you secure those and take those to the lab?
I did.
Thank you very much, sir.
No questions, Your Honor.
Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, our next witness, we'd like to call Jessica Robideau, please.
Right this way, ma'am. Please follow me. Good face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this court and the truth will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Have a seat.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
State your full name, please,
Jessica Robidoux,
and could you spell your last name?
Robidoux.
Okay. And do you work, ma'am?
Yes, I do.
Where do you work?
For the Massachusetts State Police at the Crime Lab.
How long have you worked at the crime lab?
8.5 years.
How are you currently assigned?
I currently work in the South Region Lab in Lakeville.
And how long, or what unit are you assigned to?
Right now, I am assigned to 2 different units that I work in simultaneously, the Crime Scene Response Unit and the Criminalistics Unit.
Could you tell us a little bit about your duties in the Crime Scene Response Unit?
My duties in the Crime Scene Response Unit are to respond to crime scenes or scenes that may be related to crimes. I document crime scenes using note-taking and sketches and diagrams. I perform chemical testing. I collect and preserve evidence. I bring evidence back to the crime lab where I submit it into evidence, and I prepare written reports of my findings.
Okay. And what about with regards to your other duties in the criminalistic unit?
When I'm working in the criminalistics unit, I'm assigned cases to work on. Part of my duties include reviewing all of the evidence that may be submitted in cases, to have meetings with investigators and district attorneys' offices to decide which items of evidence should be examined. I also examine physical evidence inside of the laboratory using photo documentation, note-taking. I perform testing for biological fluids such as blood, semen, and saliva. I examine trace materials such as hairs, fibers, and gunshot residues. I collect samples, which I can forward along to other units within the crime laboratory, such as the DNA unit, the bomb and arson unit, the trace analysis unit, and I also prepare written reports of my findings.
And how long have you been in the Crime Scene Response Unit?
Approximately 7.5 years.
And what about the Criminalistics Unit?
The same amount of time.
Okay. And what training and experience have you had to collect and examine these types of things that you've just described?
When I first entered the Crime Scene Response Unit and Criminalistics Unit, my training began with reading scientific literature and journal articles. I received lectures and PowerPoint presentations from fully trained chemists within my unit and my supervisors. I took practical examinations. I took written and oral tests in all of the different areas of my expertise. And I took a final comprehensive exam before I was allowed to work independently on my own at crime scenes and in the laboratory.
Okay. And when you took that comprehensive exam, the results of that were?
I passed.
Okay. Now, approximately how many scenes have you been to?
My goodness. More than 350, less than 400, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Would that be part of your crime scene response duties?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to other, when I say scenes, have you ever participated in the execution of a search warrant?
Yes, many.
Okay. And I'd like to direct your attention back to June of 2013. Did you have an occasion to participate in the execution of a search warrant in North Attleboro?
Yes.
And do you recall what date you participated in that?
June 22nd of 2013.
Now, at some point in that date, had you received a phone call?
Yes.
And as a result of that, where did you go?
I was called and asked to respond to the North Attleboro Police Department.
And did you respond to the station?
Yes, I did.
And when you arrived at the station, did you meet with other individuals, law enforcement or other people that you recognized?
Yes.
And who else did you meet with?
There were many people present. There were representatives from the North Attleboro Police Department. There were also representatives from the Massachusetts State Police District Attorney's Office Detective Unit assigned to Bristol County. There was also a representative from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services section, as well as myself and my supervisor, Daniel Pratt, from the Crime Scene Response Unit.
Okay. And as a result of meeting there with these other folks, did you have conversations with them, just yes or no?
Yes.
And as a result of that, were there certain, did you understand, or did you then ultimately leave from the police station to go somewhere else in North Attleboro?
Yes, I did.
And where did you go?
I responded to 22 Ronald C. Meyer Drive in North Attleboro.
Okay. And approximately, if you remember, what time did you respond to that location?
Approximately 1:45 p.m.
And when you went there, were there certain, as a result of conversations you had, were there certain items that you were looking for?
Yes.
And what items were you looking for?
I was looking for items that may potentially have blood evidence or gunshot residue evidence, in particular certain colors of clothing and sneakers.
Okay. And at that time, just describe the clothing that you were interested in, or that you were advised to be looking for.
I was interested in the following clothing items: a white or light-colored hooded sweatshirt, dark-colored jeans, and white Nike sneakers.
Okay. Now, with regard to those items, before you actually went to 22 Ronald C. Meyer, had you been shown any, a picture of something?
Yes.
And just describe this picture. Do you know if it was black and white or color?
I don't recall.
Okay. Just the quality of the picture, could you describe that?
It was a very grainy photo of Mr. Aaron Hernandez wearing what appeared to be a light-colored shirt, dark-colored pants, and white sneakers.
Okay. And so as a result of seeing that photograph, did that cause you to look for those items at the home?
Yes.
And how long would you say that you remained at the home?
I believe it was just shy of 4 hours.
And did you notice when you arrived there, did you see any occupants of the home?
Yes.
And who did you see?
Mr. Hernandez and several other people were present in the home.
Okay. And you say Mr. Hernandez, do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you just point him out and describe what he's wearing, please, ma'am?
The man with the purple-colored tie.
Thank you, Your Honor. If the record could reflect the witness identifying the defendant. Now, just tell us, when you responded on this date and at that time, where did you start? Where did you go?
The first area of the house that I focused on was an office area on the first floor of the home.
And when you say the office area, was that, what level was that on?
The first floor of the home, sir.
And do you know how you entered the home? Through what door?
I'm sorry, sir, I don't recall if I entered through the garage or the front door.
Okay. But at some point in that area of the office, did you go to a closet area?
I did, yes.
And just describe what you saw in the closet area.
To the best of my memory, the closet was mostly empty. The shelves were mostly empty except for a towel that was on the closet shelf.
Okay. With regard to, do you recall at some point going to a closet that had articles of clothing and shoes?
Oh, yes. There was another closet off of a hallway. It was a hall closet. However, it contained many pairs of shoes. The whole wall of the shelf was lined with shoes.
And at some point, did you begin to examine any of these items?
Yes.
How many of them did you examine?
I would say I glanced briefly at all of them and then focused on ones that appeared to be white. I pulled 2 of the pairs of white Nike sneakers off of the shelves. We were interested in the sneakers because there were red-brown colored stains which appeared to be blood stains on the sneakers.
Okay. Now, as a result of that, were they white sneakers?
Yes, sir, they were.
And when you, these areas of red-brown stain, did you do anything after you had now recovered these items?
I did perform testing for the presence of blood on those stains.
Okay, and just describe that testing. How do you go about testing for blood?
The test that I use is called the lloyd-odin test for the presence of blood. It is a screening test only, not a confirmatory test, because there are things other than blood which can test positive. It is a 2-step chemical reaction test. I apply the chemicals to a filter paper which has touched the stains in question. If a bright blue color results after I add the chemicals, this would be considered a positive reaction.
And did you perform that test on those 2 pairs of sneakers that you described finding in that closet?
Yes, sir, I did.
And just tell this jury what was the results of that test.
The result was negative. The testing for the presence of blood was negative on the stains on both pairs of white Nike sneakers from that closet.
Okay. As a result of the negative testing, what did you do with those sneakers?
The sneakers were collected by myself and brought back to the crime laboratory at a later time where they were submitted into evidence.
Okay. Now, later on, did you continue in the course of your search to look for other white sneakers?
Yes.
And where else did you look?
On the second floor of the home, the master bedroom had a large closet inside of it. This closet also contained many pairs of shoes. 2 pairs of white Nike shoes were found inside of this closet, and I did retain those shoes and bring back those shoes to the crime lab where I submitted them as evidence.
Okay. And as a result of searching for shoes, in total, how many pairs of white shoes did you recover from the home of the defendant?
4.
Okay. Now, after you had searched for shoes, at some point did you look for what you described as a white sweatshirt?
Yes.
And just actually, before I get into that, let me just show you something. These are privacy. Oh, I can go share that. Ma'am, I'm just going to show you the previous event marked 155A. Ask if you recognize the item depicted in this photograph.
Yes.
Okay, what do you recognize that to be?
A pair of white Nike sneakers.
How do you recognize this?
There are markings on the sneakers identifying the analyst, the item number, the identifying case number, and the date of the exam.
Placing 155C on the overhead, you recognize what's depicted in this photograph.
They are a pair of white Nike sneakers.
And do you recognize those?
Again, I recognize the initials, the identifying case number, item number, and the date of the exam.
Showing now 155E. Recognize this shoe?
Yes.
Or these pair of shoes, okay? And what do you recognize it to be?
A pair of white Nike sneakers.
Again, does that have similar markings